Where are you surprised by the Saudis slashing the price to Asia by nearly double what we expected? For me, that was quite a shock. What was it for you?
Well, it does show basically the lack of discipline from the OPEC Plus group, right? We know that they will, that they would be relatively, and they will stick together, again, extreme events, right? An oil price below 50 or 40, or an oil price above 80 that would damage demand. But basically, when you're between the two, there's a bit of competition. I wouldn't go as far as saying that they're ready to ignite some form of a price war, but very clearly, there is a competition among members. The Saudis have taken a lot of the burden when it comes to, managing the level of output. So, they want to make it back. They're cutting prices. They're doing that against the other members of the OPEC Plus group. So it does show, again, the lack of discipline here when you're in a comfortable zone when it comes to the oil price.
I think you'd be getting a call from Prince Abdullah's bin Salman saying that the Saudis lack discipline in the oil market. They're the central bank of oil, Samy. What's the risk? What is the risk that OPEC Plus, they put 400,000 barrels back on the market, Samy? They're on the course for that. Is there a risk that we tip into oversupply, Samy, more quickly than maybe some people in the market had anticipated? Or does Iran barrels not being back on the market balance that out?
No, I would say we continue to see a relatively balanced oil market. I mean, the damage from Delta is mainly located in Asia and Southeast Asia. I would say what we've seen, except for the jobs report in the U.S., I mean, the level of activity in the U.S. remains pretty acceptable. Same in Europe. So, overall, this recovery is ongoing. For sure, not at the same pace, but I would say the level of demand continues to improve. And on the supply side, as I've said, although it might not please everyone, when we're in a certain range, the discipline is not as strict as it could be. And the wild card remains the Iranian oil. There, I would say it comes a bit as a surprise, the fact that the Iranians are delaying the talks. Yes, they've been reshuffling the cabinet. It takes a bit of time. But, clearly there, this is the wild card. And for now, it seems that Iranian oil is not coming to the market as soon as we've expected. So I would say between Delta on the demand side and Iran on the supply side, I would say we continue to see a relatively balanced market.
Yeah, I'd encourage everybody to go back and watch Anne-Marie's interview with Robert Malley in terms of the patience. Of course, he's the special envoy on Iran in terms of his comments on the patience of the US for Iran to seriously come back to the negotiating table and what is the scale of the demand. Samy, let's pivot away. I spent a bit of time with the Economy Minister, Bintouk, spent a bit of time with the EBD CEO just the other day. Very ambitious plans to bring in FDI from major countries. I've thought about this for the past 48 hours, and to me, it's very much, and the team here, is very much about a pivot to Asia. Yes, Turkey's in there as one of the 8 prime countries they're targeting. Israel and the UK, they're historical relationships, really, aren't they? What do you make of the pivot?
Well, it makes a lot of sense. Again, it's a region that is standing on 2 legs, the oil sector and the non-oil sector. And, obviously, we know that with time, the benefits from the oil sector is going to shrink. So they have to develop and to diversify away that. A lot is being done. A lot has been done so far, but it remains relatively insufficient, right? They need to continue to push through. I think many things have been done to attract capital and to attract investment. That's, I would say, on the very positive side. On the pivot to Asia, it makes sense. But again, in the short term, they need to go global. So anything that can help attract capital and that can favor business development is obviously something that they have to push through.
Now, you've also flagged up the slightly slower non-oil economic growth in Saudi Arabia. Is that temporary or is there a risk? I mean, if you get rising rates in the States and you get a taper, there's interest rate risk, isn't there?
Yes, well, I mean, the summer was not as buoyant as we could have hoped for. But when you look at the PMIs for the region and the kingdom, it remains at relatively supported levels. So again, the economic recovery is ongoing, even in the non-oil sector. Everything that is gained on the oil sector has to be used to diversify the economy, and again to favor business and to favor investment from abroad. But I would say overall, the environment remains quite supportive for the two legs of the economy, right? They're producing more, they're managing to sell more on the oil side, and on the non-oil side, there's been a control of data. I would say the impact of data on the region hasn't been as strong as what we've seen in Asia, so that's a net positive. So I would say finally, the economy is operating on full steam, and that is something we expect will continue in the quarters ahead.